Says we're streaming on YouTube.
Yep, I got it now, just because
Okay.
I'm, George, should I let everyone in?
Sure, yep. Have you heard from John?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Earlier he was, so I have a feeling he'll be here.
Okay.
John's joining now.
Okay, good.
Hear me?
Hey, yeah. Mr. Picard, I hear you.
Very good, thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Hey,
Evening.
guess we get another bit of moisture starting early tomorrow morning, huh?
Nope.
Looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, were you skiing, John?
I was working outside most of the day today. It was cold. It was very cold out today.
Brisk today.
Yeah. It kind of goes right through you.
Oh, you were doing snow angels. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Whatever it takes.
Just give it a couple more minutes, George, let
Yeah.
people.
Yep. Do you have a list of people that have indicated an interest?
No, I don't usually hear
When you
that.
show up, you know then. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think there's too many of us that qualify for the vaccine, but Craig got his today. I got
Art
mine.
got his.
The
Art
VA gave me mine.
got mine Saturday. I'll tell you what, Hartford Hospital at the Armory, they really got their act together.
Yeah, good experience.
Yeah, there's no hesitation, and everybody was just so nice. They're very
Oh,
nice.
that's good. Our applicant for 450 Main Street, she's not here yet, so.
Okay.
May want to let Craig know he's muted, so.
There you go.
There he is. Hey, Craig. I think we've got the whole commission here now. Just waiting for a few other people to log in here. Pam, did you say this?
Yeah,
Sure.
she's coming now. She's trying
Okay,
to
good. All right.
connect. Yeah. She's still connecting, so just give her, sometimes you know how people's Wi-Fi can be.
Okay. So everybody that's listening, we haven't opened the meeting yet, but we've got an applicant that has I believe will be a pretty short application. We want to try to move that up to get it handled before we get into the continuation of the existing hearings.
I take it we didn't get any engineering studies or any further information on the Winstead Road?
No,
On which, Craig?
On Winstead Road,
Kentucky
the old,
Fried.
chicken, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, no, we didn't. I asked Pam
Okay.
earlier, so that'll
Okay.
we'll just let it ride until we
Right.
get
No,
it.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
I imagine with all the snow, he's going to be a while.
Yeah, it's not going to get better here the way we're talking, but I guess Thursday, Friday is just supposed to be a light treatment, so hopefully that stays that way. Except Peter, he wants more.
Well, he's been making them snow angels and selling them on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
How's your knees, Greg?
Hi.
One second, Sharon. So we haven't started the meeting. We just wanted to make sure everyone connected okay, and I think we're good now.
Ready to go.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, so February 8th, unbelievable, but here we are. I've got about 7 minutes after 7. We'll open the meeting up. We've got a full house of commissioners and alternates, so we don't need to seat an alternate. And do we have anybody that's showing here that's not associated with the application, Pam? Public comment?
I don't believe so. Everyone has the ability to unmute themselves. So, anyone who's muted, you can unmute yourself. We have some folks that have just called in and there's no video, so. But no one has indicated it ahead of the meeting. No.
Okay, all right. Under 3, the agenda review. I'd like to see if the commission is agreeable to move under public hearings number 4C, to move that and handle that ahead of the continuation of 4A and 4B, if that's acceptable.
Make that motion.
Okay, we have a
I'll
second.
second that.
Craig, okay, any discussion? All in favor? Just raise your hand. Thank you. So what we'll do, Pam, is we'll open the public hearing for PZC number 21-02, special permit, location 450 Main Street. Applicant Sharon Hines, owner 450 Main Street LLC. Proposal is mixed-use building, retail, personal service and retail, small shop on first floor, and 2 and 9 apartments on the second and third floor. Can you read the
Sure.
placement, please?
Sure. Notice is hereby given that the Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, February 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m. via the online platform Zoom for the following applications: PZC 20-02 special permit, applicant Sharon Hines, owner 450 Main Street LLC, 450 Main Street, map 110, block 053, lot 010. Proposal: mixed use building, retails, personal service and retail, small shop on first floor, 2 and 9 apartments on second and third floor. Meetings are live streamed on YouTube at the following, and it indicates the address. Parties interested in participating during the meeting should email pcolumbia@townofwinchester.org ahead of the meeting. Questions and/or comments may be emailed to that address. At this hearing, interested persons may appear and be heard, and written communications will be received. Copies of the above application are on file for public inspection in the Planning and Community Development Office, dated at Winchester, Connecticut, this 28th day of January 2021. George Classen, Chairman. It was published in the Republican American twice, once on January 30th, 2021, and again on February 3rd, 2021. Notices were provided to the abutting property owners. I don't have comments from the fire marshal or police chief or public works. This is an existing building on Main Street. Ms. Hines has been through this before. Geez, I want to say it was a couple of years ago on North Main Street. She can speak to that, but she's familiar with the process, and she knows that any retrofitting of the building will need to be permitted through the building department, and she'll work with the fire marshal to make sure, for her dryers, all of her plumbing. Parking is, on street parking, but she can probably address any questions that the commission may have.
Okay, and there was a request to waive the requirement for a site plan. And this doesn't have any extra property on it. It's the building fully occupies its footprint. So I believe we already talked about that, but formally we should waive that in the process tonight. And if Ms. Hines could go ahead and describe what you're trying to do there, and then we can move forward.
Okay, I want to open up a wash and fold laundromat only because of the COVID that's going on. Because at the other laundromat, I lost a lot of customers coming in to do their laundry, but my wash and fold picked up really big time. Like I was making more money off of wash and fold than I was doing with people walking in. And then with the situation with me and my landlord, I decided to just move and find another location to do my business out of. And that's what I want to do. I want to do wash and fold only because of the COVID, and then I don't have to let anyone into the building.
How do you
And
get your,
I'll only have but like 6 machines that I need to use.
How
And
do you-
that's my big dryers. I need my big dryers, and I need my big washer. And I still got all my equipment from the other location. It's all just in storage, but I need another building.
how do you get the material that you're gonna launder?
I already had it from the first laundromat on North Main.
Okay, but the clothing that you process, how do you get that?
Oh, I still have my same customers. My customers are waiting for me to come back.
Okay, so they drop it off at your facility?
Yep.
Okay.
And I do wash and fold,
Okay.
and I charge $1.25 per pound. And I have like 40 customers
No, good for you.
that I accumulated over the 2.5 years that I was there on North Main.
Yeah.
Okay. Pam, do we have it? So you've explained your process. It was similar to what similar in that it's to do with laundry. In the other location on North Main Street, I remember that application. So why don't we, do we have any comments or questions from the commissioners? Peter?
I've got none.
Okay. Craig?
No, she was pretty well questioned when she went into North Main Street.
Okay. Jerry?
I'm good.
Art?
Good.
Okay. Do we have anybody that was commenting for or against this, Pam?
I don't know anyone who's here from the public that would like to speak for or against the application. Now is the time that the chairman's making available.
Okay, this is a pretty straightforward application. That's why I asked to move it up. Without any other additional questions and so forth, we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing for PZC 21-02.
Make a motion. Second.
Seconded by Art. Any comments, discussion? All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Okay, very good.
Make a motion to approve PZZ 21-02. 450 Main Street, Assessors Map 110, Block 053, Lot 019.
We have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, this is a special permit. This again has to meet the special permit criteria. It's our central business district, which this is in full harmony with mixed use. This is our POCD requested that be included, and it is. It's got on-street parking so that it's parking in common. It's got all the utilities and so forth that are necessary for all the businesses that are there, and this certainly would fit in with the uses that are on Main Street. We've had other laundry operations on Main Street further up to the west, so this would be in harmony with that. It's my understanding it would be no change to the appearance of the building in the entrance, I believe, and it is in harmony with what we've set up for our town center area. So that should be part of the motion as well. Any further discussion with regards to the motion to approve? All in favor of the motion to approve?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is approved and it should become effective. What's the date we could put down, Pam, for this?
You can make it effective Wednesday, the 10th.
10th. Okay, so we'll add that to the motion. Is that acceptable to the motion?
Yes.
Okay, so it'll be effective 10 February. That's got to be filed. Okay, that takes care of that application. Thank you very much, Ms. Hines.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Have a good night.
You
You too.
Stay
Bye-bye.
Okay, to continue on, we've got a continuation of public hearing, PZC number 20-29 zoning regulation change. That is a continuation from our previous meeting 2 weeks ago. There was a request by the applicant, I believe, to try to combine both of these special permit applications, but actually they've got to be separated because the second is dependent on the first, obviously. So let's open that back up. If we have a motion to reopen that public hearing.
I'll move.
Peter, okay, seconded by,
I'll second that.
okay, Art. Okay, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Just raise your hand,
Aye.
please. Okay, so we've got it opened up. Does any, Mr. Picard, do you have anything that you would further want to add to that, or any of your people that are working for you?
Mr. Chairman, go ahead, Dale.
Go ahead, Jason.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I just would just remind the commission that regulation change was reviewed by the COG, and they find it consistent with the PDOC, and reflect. They commented positively.
Wait a second. I just want to, we're not talking about the text amendment because that public hearing was closed, right? I'm
we
sorry.
No.
didn't close that.
Oh, okay. All
We
right.
didn't.
Sorry.
He just
forgive me.
continued that. Yeah, they just
Right.
reopened that.
We left
They
it.
didn't reopen the public hearing on the text amendment, just on
Yeah,
the
we
special
did.
permit.
Yes,
No,
but I-
that public hearing has been closed.
I
so
don't
there-
recall closing that, Pam.
There was a motion. Trust me.
Okay,
Trust me.
I trust you. Okay, all right, so we're off on the wrong foot there. I thought it was still open, that's why I asked for So we have all the information on that. It was pretty clear.
That's what you found at your last meeting, yeah. So,
Okay.
so the public hearing, so you can open the public hearing on the special permit
No,
application.
I'm gonna hold that up because the second one is dependent on the first. And so I think we should act on the first so we know whether we can in fact proceed, because the second application depends on the terminology being changed in our regulation. Does anybody disagree with that?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, so to move this along tonight, we should then consider, let's discuss this as from commission members. So we've got 5 members. We've gone through the presentation, and everybody that was there last meeting are here tonight. So we'll open her for around the table. Let's say, Jerry, let's start with you.
The only thing I have to say about this is that it stays in harmony with what we've done in the Lake District, and so I think this is that's worked well in the Lake District as far as mitigating water and other aspects of the environment. So just basically extending what we already have in our current regulations.
Okay, so you're in favor of this for all the rural residential properties then? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Just so that we stay consistent with our other zones, other districts.
Okay. Art?
Well, I don't know. I think I remember that we approved stuff 5 years ago. And
You're just talking about the text
We're
amendment.
talking about the text.
the text amendment, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that.
You're in favor of modifying the regulations?
Yes.
You are, okay. Peter?
I really am not in favor of it. I just think it allows through our special permit process some overbuilding on some of the lots. I can see where it's needed at the lake, where it's the only zone that it's allowed in right now, because all the lake is non-conforming lots and very small lots. And you've got to really watch the water quality there with the lake. But in the rural residential areas, we've got all large lots. I just don't see where it's needed. There's other ways to do things.
Craig?
My feeling is that we, yourself and myself and Dave spent almost a year trying to simplify our regulations. And it seems like every time we're coming up with something that's outside the spectrum of our existing regs, we're going to change them again. I think we're going to be back up around 5,000 zoning zones in town of Winchester. I think they have an avenue open to them through I'm sorry, I'm having a senior moment here. Get a special dispensation from
A variance, right?
That-
You're trying.
I'm sorry, I'm drawing
No, I think you mean a variance from the zoning board of appeals.
Correct, for board of approval. There you go. I think they have an avenue there that is applicable without exposing all of the rural applications to a new means of getting something done. That's all. That's how I feel at this point.
Well, I participated with you, Craig, and with Dave Villa when we were working on the zoning regulations and try to make them, much more workable and simplified. So we've got a lot less zones and so forth. The only zone that has the ability to get a 5% benefit as the Highland Lake districts. And we did that specifically in, Pete mentioned that, you know, small sizes, there's the bulk of the lots down there are undersized. But we've got a watershed that we've got to protect the resources of our bodies of water. There's such a huge impact on our community and our grand list and so forth. So that's the thinking behind that. I think there's definitely a hardship here in this situation because of the fire regulations that have changed since the original application came in. So it drives a need here that's not controlled by the applicant and his design team. But I've got to agree with you, Craig, and with Peter. I'm not in favor of making a modification to this. It's something that I brought it up at the last meeting. My feeling there were two options. One is going through the special permit to make a regulation change. Or the ZBA route. The ZBA route would deal with a specific application rather than the townwide rural residential properties. So I feel that there is a remedy that's available to the applicant that could still solve it unless or if the design team could come up with something to stay within that 15%. And it sounded like Jason was not able to come up with a suggestion for that. So it might be the variance is the only other opportunity. But that's my feeling. So with five of us have discussed this, I'm going to put a motion forward to approve the zoning regulation change. So it'll be a positive motion and to follow the words that were suggested as a positive recommendation. We need a second for that.
I'll second it.
Okay, so Peter provided the second. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
George, I have a point.
Yes.
So one of my concerns with this is that there's a number of properties in rural residential which could be less than 5 acres or smaller. And because of the terrain in a number of different areas up here in like especially in Winchester Center, it could make the difference that extra wiggle room, if you will, in order to actually provide the property owner with some relief without having, I know you're saying you can go, there's other remedies, but I'm just thinking that for the smaller properties, yes, if you have 100 acres, you have a lot of room to play. But there are a number of properties up here that, are smaller in size, and because of terrain could make the difference. So I just wanted to put that out as one of my concerns as to, as far as allowing this to
Sure.
be amended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a point well taken, especially with the topography and the wetlands and bodies of water that we have in our community. We're pretty fortunate to have as much variety as we do. But I still believe that the variance situation would take into the uniqueness of each particular property rather than do a blanket availability here. I mean, special permit does give some flexibility, but it makes it, town-wide for that zone. And I think that we'd still be better off because every time I've seen this in the history that I've been involved with here, is every time we start making these small incremental changes to satisfy a particular application, we start diluting the effectiveness of the consistent regulations. So any other comments before we take a vote? Okay. So vote in favor of it was a positive motion. So if you vote in favor of it, it approves it. If you vote against it, it's just that, it's against it. So how many raise their hands that are in favor of approving this regulation? Who's handed? This is an approval of it to pass the regulation change. So who's voting in favor? Just say your name. Okay. Hearing none. All those that oppose the approval of the regulation change, raise your hand, please. Okay,
I'm in.
looks like
Art.
Art, did you vote?
Against.
You're against it. Okay, so you're unanimous. So it failed. So the situation that we have is the second special permit is dependent upon that being approved.
But without the applicant withdrawing, you can continue the public hearing on that, and he can take leave. You wouldn't want to close that public hearing. It would be up to the applicant and his team.
That's what I was just going to get
Okay.
to. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
What I would suggest is, number one, we've gotten some more information from Jason with regards to the modification of the roadway and the 20 feet coming across that pipe at the entrance. So what I would suggest, and it's up to Mr. Picard and his team, is that the public hearing be continued. We have a responsibility by statute that we have to close the public hearing within 35 days. And I think we've got it open, for how much time? We've got it for less than that right now, Pam.
Yeah. I think
Probably
they just
28
opened.
days or so.
Yeah, but you can leave it open.
No, I'm just, that's what,
Okay.
but what we have to do is if Mr. Picard and his team could grant an extension or a permission to continue this, we've got up to 65 days that we could do that. And during that period of time, you could apply to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance to grant you that 5% or whatever the percentage works up being that Jason came up with to exceed the requirements that are in our code. This way we could keep the public hearing open. We could get any modifications that did subsequently come forward as a result of that variance, which I would believe would be successful, I mean, my opinion. But then you wouldn't lose any more time with this because I think you could get that set up fairly rapidly for that schedule.
Well, if it's another step we're going to have to take with that, we will take that step. So let's keep it going. We'll apply for that application.
But if it isn't a problem for the rest of the commission, well, we've got everybody here. I would like to thank Mr. Picard and the Reeves for allowing the commission to come up. We had a good attendance on that Saturday, a week ago Saturday, a little brisk. But it gave us an opportunity to walk on the property, to see the circumstances that are sitting there. And I thank you, yourself and your neighbors for giving us that opportunity. I appreciate it. But if we can move forward, I mean, we've just got something from Jason, and we've got a maintenance schedule that has been proposed for the drainage structure that's put on the property. Does anybody else from the commission have anything they'd like to comment on?
George, just a couple comments on the maintenance, just so not to delay the public hearing, but just a couple of questions on it as far as who is going to the inspections, what qualifications do they need? Where and for how long, or is any records going to be kept of it? What's the requirements? Do they need to be kept for 5 years, 10 years? And as far as any sediment or anything that's removed from the sediment pond, where and how will it be disposed? Just some questions I had, that maybe something needs to be added to that water quality management plan.
That's a good point, Peter. And And I think Jason's got it with the 20 feet on Newfield Road for the access point. I've got it, the email, so it's, I haven't blown it up to really read it.
Yeah, just one question on that now, being that there's some changes in that driveway, is that something that's, because that wasn't originally reviewed by wetlands with their site plan review? That should probably go back to wetlands because you're dealing with the culvert and that area.
Well, those are, since we'll keep as long as Mr. Picard is acceptable to that, we need a written extension or grant us the 65-day extension. So Pam has that in the file. And then obviously, as soon as there's activity on it that you can move forward further, we don't have to necessarily wait for that amount of time, but it gives us the legal ability to keep this open, and you don't have to go through any other, applications with us and get it further delayed.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Mr. Picard? Okay, I see you're shaking your head, so go.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So if you could provide that to Pam, then we've got that in the file, and then she also handles the applications for the ZBA. Is that right, Pam?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So with that in mind, we still got the public hearing open. Is there anybody else that's here, that's online, that has anything else to say that's new? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just a clarification, assuming that tonight's public hearing is being continued,
Yes.
to what date will the continuance apply?
Well, Pam, what's the schedule for ZBA, and how does the application process work? So how fast could the applicant get in there?
Wait 1 second. So to answer the first part of his question, the next Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting is February 22nd, and you would carry it on that agenda. The Zoning Board of Appeals meeting is February 23rd. And if we were to get a variance application by tomorrow, the end of tomorrow, and we could get it advertising, you could make it for the February 23rd. Wetlands, if the modification for that, I would need an application by Friday the 12th to get on for a modification for the 17th.
Okay, so which that means is that our first meeting in March would be March 8th. Looks like that would be the earliest date that we could actually take care of business here to continue that public hearing. So to answer your question, it looks like March 8th.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yes.
I could,
Yes,
Jason, regarding the wetlands, when we went back to wetlands, we were widening the driveway in the regulated area. And yes, at the time, we were going to seek an exception at the culvert.
Mhm.
But after going out and remeasuring it, we see that we can get 20 feet at where the culvert crossing is. And it doesn't require going into the brook or disturbing the pipe at all. All it requires is sliding some rocks over so that we can the paved driveway 20 feet wide. I don't know that really needs to go back to inland wetlands. We're not disturbing any wetlands in the process of doing that.
Okay,
Because.
all right. Peter, you raised that issue before. Did you?
Well, the area I'm also talking about is the entranceway, which was, the traffic engineer said was 15 feet, which are now showing on the revised widened to 20 feet.
Yeah.
assume wetlands is gonna wanna look at the sedimentation, erosion controls, what measures you're gonna use out there by the road where there is a water and ice problem now.
If you
So-
go out there, I was out there the other day, there was no ice in front of the ECAD's property. So up the road at the lower spots. And that's not where it's coming from. It's not coming from ECAD.
I'm talking wide driveway 15 to 20 feet was
Yeah.
not a proposal of wetlands. So I would assume. would need
Is it in
to-
a regulated area?
So
I don't
That's-
think so.
that's up to wetlands, not me.
Okay, well, you've got a moment if you wanted to discuss it further, Jason, to see if there is necessity for that, just to make sure any questions are handled. So we don't, create any more delays just because we haven't crossed the appropriate information list.
Yeah, the public hearing is open, if they want to, continue to present their application, review the modifications that were made. If the architect wants to talk about the spruce trees, do so.
Sure, well, I'm fine with that.
We
Hold on.
missed, oh,
So I've made you co-host, Jason. I don't know if you want to review the revisions that you submitted today.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Let me find them here. Okay, here we go.
Um,
All right, so you guys can see that.
Yeah.
Um, All right, hold on. Let me bring it up.
While he's bringing that up, George, before we close the public hearing tonight or continue the public hearing tonight, make sure that we read into the record the communications that were received.
Yeah, I have
Since-
them.
Okay,
I list.
perfect.
Yep, thank
Just
you.
so that they get noted.
Yes.
Okay, so. If I can try and zoom in here. Okay. So right in here, this is the entryway. And Mike and I went and measured out here, and we can easily widen on the south side of the driveway to get the 20 feet wide. There's a stone wall that's along the north side of the driveway, and that would not have to be altered to get the 20 feet. And it wouldn't create any grading problems either along that, right in that corner here. We took a close look at that. And just so, this is the wetlands way up there. We're well outside of the regulated area for that work.
Mhm.
I would honestly, I don't, Pam, I don't know if it's possible, but look at the original wetland approval when we went in to modify with the modified plan, that this widening this section wouldn't be covered under that. Is that something we could take a look at? I mean, because again, we're not in the brook and we're not even touching the pipe. We're just stacking boulders 2 feet over on each side of the driveway and with using process behind those boulders we'll have at least 20 feet wide. I think we actually measured 21, but we would at least have 20.
Mr. Chairman or Pam?
You gotta wait until. he
Oh, okay,
opens it up
till
for
that's
public
okay.
hearing.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm all set
Okay.
on this issue.
All right. But as far as what you're saying, Jason, we should be able to look at the, in the town hall, the record, the plan, what it showed, the dimension of that pipe, and that this fits, your question should be readily answered.
Thank you.
Okay. While we're out there at that entrance, this is apparently from the description of the lot lines, this is a rear lot this is what we're dealing with. Does that going through the front lot, is there a formal easement or right of way on the front property that's recorded?
Well, our surveyor, when he did the survey, he shows the easement and there's meets and bounds on the easement.
Okay.
So there has to be something on file for it.
Okay. All right. All right, this is, so that's the only thing you've modified, Jason, other than
That's it.
your maintenance plan for the stormwater quality maintenance plan?
Yeah, that I added a section to address the pervious paver portion of the upper parking area in front of the building.
Okay, all right. All right. Before we take, any other participants from Mr. Picard's team?
Yeah, and one more thing, if I would love to just, I'd like to take the commission back to when the original site plan was approved. And this is the original plan. This is Tom Shannon's plan that was approved under site plan approval. And at some point, there was a comment made, I don't know who, I can't remember who made it, that, the proposed building was shown in some light obscured line, that is not the case. This is at the time, this is the 5,000 square foot building. And in this text here, it's hard to read here, it basically calls out it to be kennel space and office space. And then the other thing I would like to point out is this is the parking lot that was approved as part of the original site plan. A lot of parking spaces there. When the engineer, Tom Shannon, when this was approved, down here in his table of parking, he provides the square foot area of both buildings when he calculated the parking requirements. And so right down here, professional offices, 3 space per 1,000 equals, so he's got 13,744 square feet divided by 1,041 spaces. So I guess my broader point here is that the 5,000 square foot building was part of the original approval and was used to generate the parking calculations that were required at the time. And the reason they didn't build those is that when Borghese came through, he came through with a modification that allowed parking to be deferred until that building was built. because they didn't need it at the time. And I think just looking back in history is important. That building with a septic system approved by the health department
I didn't bring my notes. They're on.
was part of the original approval.
Jason, this is Art Melcher. I remember that.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Any other commissioner comments?
Yeah, George.
Yes, Jerry.
Yeah, there was a brief mention about the recent letters that have come in, and I'd like to address some of those. I got a chance to read them just before the meeting.
Mhm.
And the question that comes to my mind and as reading them is, when does a rural residential stop being residential? And typically this use that's being applied for here would normally end up in our production and innovation zone, our industrial area, and that provides a natural buffer between the residential areas and industrial type activity. Now, although we allow kennel, bread and breakfast, and many of the things that are here that are taking part in toto on this property. So one of the concerns that I have is as far as the noise and the nuisance. And one of the things that we do is we cover this in other special permit areas, especially in our earth excavation, where there's a certain time of day when these type of activities that are non-residential take place. There's various allowances for the surrounding properties in order to mitigate either noise or nuisance. Like, let's say you have trash pickup, are they coming at 3 a.m. and waking up the surrounding area? So in an industrial zone, you wouldn't have to worry about this, but because the surrounding properties are close in nature, I just wanted to bring that to the attention of my fellow commissioners.
It's a good point, Jerry. I think that's why these uses that are not typically residential have to go through a special permit. You think in terms of what we've done with our regulations, even for a home business, it now requires a special permit. So you consider traffic, noise, things that need to be sheltered from the surroundings to at least give a consideration in anticipation of how the property around you, otherwise how they will be used. I mean, otherwise there's no value in zoning if everything is all subject to change by different activities. Anybody else from the commission have some comments at this point? Greg? No? Okay.
Not at this point, George.
Okay. Just what this afternoon, Pam Cross forwarded some letters that came in. There's one that's from Kramer and Anderson dated February 8th with regards to PZC 20-30, which is what we're talking about now. The second one came in from, and it was, let's see if there's a date on this. Well, it was received today. It was from Richard Alling, who lives on Wani Road. There were, let's see, one. Bear with me, I just let me separate these things.
Hey, George, if you look on your screen, I'll pull them up on the
okay.
town's website, and then you can just reference them from there.
There were three, four.
There was an addition. Richard Alling was received February 7th.
Okay.
Dan and Amy Reeve of 147 Newfield Road received February 6th. Chaplain John Charles of West Hartford received February 5th. Jean Walsh of 37 St. James Avenue, Haverhill, Massachusetts, received February 3rd. Elizabeth Levy of Bethel, Connecticut, received February 1st, 2021. Anita Campagna of 38 Buckley Highway, Stafford Springs, Connecticut, received February 1st. And Kelly Carroll of 356 Cotton Hill Road of New Hartford received January 29th.
So I just wanted to make sure those are actually added into the record of the process. So we've got that to refer to and for all of us to read through. Any other commissioner have anything else to want to add at this point? I think Amy is on board.
Actually, I wanted to speak, Commissioner.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sure, go ahead.
Pam, can you bring up the trees?
Who's speaking?
This is Michael Bowe.
Oh, right, okay.
This is a mature northern Norway spruce. As you can see, it grows to about 60 feet tall. This is a single one. You would commonly know this as a Christmas tree around here.
What's the diameter of
that tree at the
mature?
The base is 25 feet at maturity in 60 years.
What's the normal spacing?
The normal spacing is between 10 and 15 feet apart.
So that's the center of the trunk of the tree?
Right.
Okay.
This is a series of them. These trees are known to be planted for screening, for windbreaks. They have a long life. They're deer resistant. They're a low maintenance tree.
What are the ones that are up there by the fence, the chain link fence now, Mike?
Dale will need to speak to that.
They're Colorado blue spruce, which is what the town had required us to put in, but we've passed that plan.
Dale, they look like they haven't been there. Was it put in last year?
Mhm.
Some of them were put in last year, some of them were put in 2 years earlier. I replaced those that died this last fall, and then I doubled the amount of trees on the property line. It was only required, I think it was like 13. There's now 22. So I spaced them a lot closer, so that way there it would close up the view faster.
In a second, just ask.
Okay.
This is basically a list from the Morton Arboretum in Leslie, Illinois. It's one of the leading arboretums in the country, which gives a specific list of the requirements of this tree. And you can go down through it. You can see that it gets 25 to 30 feet in width. At maturity, it requires 6 hours of daylight, partial sunshade, 4 to 6 hours daily. We are in zone 6. It likes acid soil.
Got a pretty rapid annual growth too.
It grows 2 to 3 feet a year.
Yeah.
And that would mean that in we're proposing to put in 8-foot trees. So they would be 10 in 1 year, 12 in 2 years, 14 in 3 years, 16 in 4 years, 18 in 5 years, 20 in 6 years.
Okay.
Our building is 16 feet tall.
Mhm.
The existing building, and our building down below is 18 feet 11 inches. And from the where we're proposing to plant those trees to the northwest corner of the building is over 10-foot drop.
Right.
Great.
at grade, and the building at that point is not 18 and a half feet tall.
All right.
And we have said that when we are planting these trees, if Amy wants to come and help locate those so she feels that she can get the best maximum coverage out of her house, we'd be glad to do that.
Great.
As far as noise,
yeah, go ahead.
As far as noise goes, there was concern of the commissioner and a part of that. Basically, the way the building is designed is we'll have what's called an STC rating of 50 and the exterior walls are less. The lower the rating, the higher the less sound that gets out of the building. An STC rating basically is being in a quiet room, speaking with a loud voice, and somebody in the adjacent room would not be able to audibly understand you, and it wouldn't be bothersome. The other thing about sound is sound dissipates over distance. And it's the best way to describe it is if you were to take a rock and throw it into a still pond, and you've got the ripples moving away from that rock, they grow farther and farther apart. That's what sound basically does, is it loses its intensity and as it moves away from that impact point. So if we've got an STC 50 at the exterior of the building, they should not even be able to hear the dogs. And the other thing that we've done on this site is we've taken the parking and we've put the parking at the east side, or at the south side of the lower building, which will mean that we will not be bringing vehicles to the upper area, except those that are handicapped people and for quick drop off or service to the building. Large vans would be parked down there, so they would be out of sight. They would occasionally have to go up there in order to pick up dogs if they were hauling dogs to another location, and people, such as Dale works with a number of different community groups with his dogs and his staff, and they transport them in the large vans. I think that if you look at the buildings themselves, where we have sited the buildings on the property, we are a significant difference or distance from all of the setbacks. We're 128 feet to the north property line from the northwest corner of the building. A 30-foot setback is required. From the northwest corner of the building to the west property line, we're 250 feet, which is more than 4 times farther than what's required by code. We're 215 feet from the south property line, which requires a 55-foot setbacks, which is 5.5 times the distance required for a setback. The allowable height of the building is 30 feet, top of the parapet. Our highest point is 18 feet, 11 inches. That's 36% lower than allowable regulations. The other thing that happens is when we build this kennel, the vehicles running up and down, working basically as an Uber service, delivering dogs, discontinues. Because the dogs are there, we will not have that traffic going up and down. And all the staff will be parking in that lower parking lot except any staff member that's handicapped and needs to park in the upper parking lot. And the accessible space is there. The amount of traffic will have an minimal impact. Is Dale has a number of full-time employees and a number of part-time employees. They're all lumped as employees. What this will allow him to do is allow him to move more of his part-time employees to full-time employment, eliminating people coming and going during the day. So he will actually have a reduction in the number of traffic on site. And again, going back to the original site that was approved, there were utilities that were put in, lines were run. The generator was sized for both buildings. The fire sprinkler system is sized for both buildings, and the tank for holding water for that fire sprinkler is sized for both buildings. With some concern about the landscaping being in the shade of the trees, that it wouldn't grow. Because the trees are on the south side of the deciduous trees, they would in fact grow because they would have direct sunlight.
So I believe that there were members of the public that wanted to speak. So whenever you want to open it to
Yeah, Mike,
comments.
are you finished, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. All right, yes. If there's people in the public that would like to speak, let's start that, please.
Hang on. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, this is Richard Alling, live on Wani Road, 133 Wani Road. We're talking about these trees that you're going to plant. You're obviously getting these from a nursery, and the first tree you showed us was in an open lot and probably well taken care of. But knowing a little bit about Christmas trees around here, evergreens around here, to get density of foliage between the whorls of branches, and not to lose branches, because evergreens do drop needles as they mature. Some drop every year a little bit, some go 2-3 years. But my question is, do you have any idea what the nitrogen content is to the soil around here? Because that's one of the predominant factors in stimulating growth. Well, anyway, I do, and it's not much. Nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium balance is what's going to take and densify that foliage. And if you don't take, if you're looking for density of foliage, you're going to have to take and apply fertilizer maybe once every 2 years until you get it up to where it should be. Now, the other thing is, I'm not familiar with that variety. You were telling me you're using what for a tree, evergreen? You talk Norway spruce. And
Norway spruce.
Norway spruce. Well,
it's actually got natural in Connecticut.
Just for point of order, Mr. Alling, excuse me, Mr. Alling, all your questions should be directed to the chairman, and then he'll filter them as appropriate.
Okay, fine, thank you. Norway spruce will grow here, but like I said, you've got to maintain it to get the density of foliage. columnar arborvitae would be a tree that would be better for density of foliage. But without doing that maintenance on them, I think you're going to be very disappointed in it. So Pam, I would suggest that they look into that a little further.
Grow one-sided.
And when you get down around the trees that are facing the south, you're going to get the growth on the south, but you're going to get a much lower density of foliage on the north because of the deciduous that are abutting them. So I hear what you're saying. Now, if you plant them 10 feet apart, my God, that doesn't give you much room to handle a mature tree if you're talking about getting up 20, 30 feet. So anyway, I would say that you got to think this one through a little bit more. And I think you'll find that people that want to really densify a border, for example, the power company up here, a phone company, I guess, in Winchester Center, right next to the old post office, is a good example of what the columnar arborvitae do. And they do a very good job. But Norway spruce, I think if you don't maintain, if you don't keep hitting with nitrogen and phosphorus, potassium, you pull back a little bit on it. And the other thing you got to keep in mind too, you may need a little bit of lime. I know we want to keep the pH probably somewhere down 4 or 5, 5.5, something like that. You may need to dub that in a little bit, but without some maintenance on those trees, I guess what I'm saying is it's not going to be a very dense wall in time. And like I say, they do drop needles, and the lower limbs will in time be very sparse with needles. I think they got Colorado Blue out there right now, and they're famous for that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Speaker, this is Dale. Can I say something?
Yes, absolutely, Dale.
25 years ago, when I moved onto this property, I planted 500 Colorado blue spruce on the property below, which most are still growing today. They're way over 30 feet tall. On about 7 years later, I planted 250 Fraser firs, most of which are still growing today on that lower property. Those are about now 18 to 20 feet tall. So I do know how to plant trees. People need to remember that I was born on a farm. So I understand animals, and I understand trees, and I understand many other things. So they will grow. I'm not concerned about it.
Are they getting?
Mr. Rowling, let's. I don't want to get back and forth here.
Okay.
I think your point was well taken. In order for the plants to provide the buffer that is being intended, they've got to be maintained, and we want to make sure we've got the correct species to do that.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mike.
Yes, Mike.
Can I speak? Part of this application will be to submit a maintenance plan for the trees.
Okay.
And it's all laid out in your zoning requirements. We will be providing that.
Thank you, Mike.
And working with South Farm Nurseries.
Okay. All right. Mrs. Reeve.
I have some questions. As long as we're discussing the trees, there indeed were trees planted originally, and many of them were quickly died and were never replaced until just prior to the November public hearing. And then all of these new trees that folks are referencing were planted. So my question is, how do we rely on, based on history, since we've been talking about history, how do we rely based on history that upon the fact that these trees are going to remain in good health and maintained on a regular basis. And we're not going to have a 12-foot tree die or what have you, and then have it be replaced with another 6-foot tree, and then we have to wait again, and on goes the cycle. So that's kind of our concern, as what is the reliability of the consistency where that is concerned. And again, as I pointed out before, as far as the visual barrier is concerned, I understand the new building is quite a lot farther away from our home than the original building. But I don't know how any of these trees are going to, first of all, there's a great elevation difference, which you folks saw last week. And so we're not actually looking at the end of this building, the new building, we're looking down on top of it. And so what we could potentially be saddled with is looking down on top of 100 and however many foot long standing seam metal roof. Because we will not be looking at the end of this building. Regardless of what angle it's placed at, it's well below our home. So, and with respect to the existing building in the buffer, I don't know how tall those trees would have to be in order to shield from that building and what that building looks like. I just don't know how tall they would have to be. There's quite a lot of stuff on the roof of that building that is very much wide out in the open. And so that's our kind of our concerns about the whole buffer issue. And I don't know, at one point there was discussion about an earth berm, and am I incorrect in recollecting that on this project anywhere, Mr. Chairman?
Well, that's, Pam, this was on the original application. Was there, Craig, you were involved, I think, in the original application. Do you recall an earth berm, or Peter?
I don't recall that, but I'm not, I can't say that decisively.
Because the Picards had mentioned it to us at one point, Mr. Chairman, and they said that they were no longer required to install that. And I was just curious as to why not.
All right, well, let me do a little background research. We're going to leave this public hearing open. And one of the things that I wanted to ask Pam, and I did the last time, I wanted to be informed of what open items there are from the original approval, because the project is sitting with a temporary CO, which is it building related, or is it site improvement related, or whatever? But that, Pam, you could hopefully answer that for us.
Now, or?
Well, if you have the information now, or if you don't, then.
No, Bill, no, because we talked about that today, so I'd have to find the punch list.
Okay, all
That
right.
was,
So
there was a punch list created by the zoning enforcement. Mark Melanson serves as both the building official and your regular zoning enforcement officer.
Right, so we need to bring that up because it's important that if there are open items that it's considered here, so we can tie the loose ends together on what takes place here in the future. And I don't know, Mr. Reeve, when we opened it up, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity of walking onto your property and looking at this.
No, thank you for coming.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, this is Jason.
Yes, Jason.
I have the punch list. Let's see, I have a PDF of it.
Okay.
I don't know if.
Sure, if you want.
Yeah, if you could, that'll be great, Jason.
Yeah, I can share screen again.
Yep.
Let me figure that out on here.
You want me to withdraw it and then add it?
Well, hang on, just
You got
hang
it?
on, I'm doing it. I'm doing
Okay,
it right
sure,
now.
sure.
All right. Did it come up?
got the title, but I don't see any other information.
Yeah, hold on.
Could be it right there.
Looks like it's an attachment on the top of the screen on the left side. ECAD punch list, PDF.
Looks like you got the window open, but it's not.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not open.
Do you
Hang
want
on.
a quick email?
Oh,
it
wait,
to me?
wait. I think I see what's going on here. I think. There we go. Okay. You guys see that?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so Mark went out on November 29th, 2018 to, go review the site, look, to check for compliance. So his first issue, the site plan calls for 17 7-foot tall Colorado blue spruce trees. At 20 feet on center, there are only 14 trees. And they're only 6 feet tall. That was his first observation. I believe, and currently there's more than 17 trees out there at varying heights. I don't think any are shorter than I don't know. There may be some that are shorter than 7 feet, but not by much. Let's see.
I think there are 20 trees out there.
The 6-foot fence with green slats, that's been, I think that's been addressed by Dale. All right, there are no flowering fruit trees as shown on the site plan. And so this, we discussed this for quite a bit. And, Dale's trying not to encourage any deer coming onto the property, and we don't really want to put stuff out there that's just going to attract them more. And these were just shown on an older plan when Tom Shannon did the original approval of they were kind of like randomly placed out in the grass right in front of the building, down closer to the upper parking lot. And so as part of this site plan, we were removing fruit trees. We're not going to have fruit trees.
Okay.
And so the retention pond is not complete. We're addressing that as part of this new application.
Right.
He doesn't make any other comments about it. The driveway is not 16 feet wide. I believe Dale he did widen it to 16 feet since then, but now if this
20.
approved, then that's not going to be an issue either. An as-built site plan is required. Well, I think as part of this, overall project, when this new building is built, there's going to be an overall site plan as built created. That's what the intent was. And a landscape buffer is required per approval. Again, I think that was addressed with the trees that are out there that were planted.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. I knew there were some open items and I hadn't seen this.
And again, when we first came to the town to construct a new building, when we met with Pam and Mark Melanson and Bob Geiger, we were told address these issues in your new application, which we believe we have. That's what we were instructed to do.
Okay. Just one of the questions I had, do we have hours of operation? We talked about that there would be changes made with this expanded facility and so forth. So there'd be fewer part-time employees, more full-time employees, so that the traffic flow in and out of the site would probably be reduced, was the indication, I think, unless I heard it incorrectly. But what would be the hours of operations? Just 24, it is 24 hours a day, I presume. You got animals there.
No, we're open, staff come in at 7:30 in the morning and they leave at 7:30 in the evening.
7 to
It's
7.
13-hour day.
Okay. And the one of the questions too was about the refuse collection. I see you've got a dumpster enclosure down on the forward part of the property that's being proposed, just before you get to that pipe crossing. Is that the only place that you're going to have refuse collection?
Yes.
Okay. So everything that happens in the upper two buildings has to be trucked down to that point? But it's going to be
Vice versa, everything from the lower building has to be trucked up to that point also. So yes, so we have to carry the trash to the dumpster.
Well, I mean, that makes sense, but you've got some sizable buildings up there. And another question that came to my mind, Dale, is we've got it in our regulations when we're talking about a horse farm and a lot of horse activity. How do you handle the whole process of dogs waste, and how do you handle all that?
All the dog waste every day is put in 5-gallon buckets, double bag with the full tie, and they're dumped in the dumpster every day. All the poop is removed off the property and sent to the dump. That's what the health department asked us to do.
Mm-hmm. Is there any regulation of your operation that is by the anything state agency?
Department of Agriculture can come and visit anytime. That's the only agency that I know, and only because we have a kennel license. Otherwise, not that I'm aware of.
So how often do you renew your kennel?
I have never seen anybody from the state.
But is it an annual renewal or is it a 4-year renewal? Your kennel license?
No, the kennel license is renewed through the town clerk.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. That's where we get our kennel license, is through the town clerk. So
it's
we approve the building, we approve the kennel, then I can go in and get my kennel licenses at the town.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do we have any, thank you, Dale. Do we have any other people that want to talk with regards to the application?
Mr. Chairman, Bill Pozo, if I could speak for a second.
Sure, Bill.
Just identify your address.
155 Newfield Road, Pam.
Thank you.
A lot of information's been addressed on northern boundary. I had submitted a letter which apparently was uploaded, but it was uploaded with a bunch of support letters. And originally the commission had said they were going to contact us, come out and walk the property lines. I understand you guys went to Picard's and to the Reeves. So you probably saw my property from that view coming down. But I've seen nothing about landscape buffers on my entire property line. Fence, again, elevation, Amy's above, I'm below. I have concerns about this road. Yeah, we can simply slide some boulders over and dump some process. That's what we did with this whole road. We're going to be reproving this road from Newfield Road all the way to the upper buildings. Are we just dumping process on this, or is this going to be engineered? Or is all this snow just going to melt off and now eventually run back onto my property with the salt and whatever treatments? I understand you have a lot to address with the Reeves, but here I am down in the hole, just being literally overlooked pretty much. I've had no contact with anybody, and I feel like none of this is being addressed. We're doing trees, we're doing buffers. And you guys notice this road runs the entire length of my property all the way up. My property goes right back as far as the back of the ECAD field.
Well, first of all, Bill, we did walk actually, we parked in the lower area by that, where the pipe is crossing the road, and we came along, which was pointed out to the commissioners who were familiar with where your property was. And there was a chain link fence, my recollection, that's behind your property, and it's got some slats in it. But that, to me, is part of the concern that we went out there for, to look at how this property was accessed behind the properties on Newfield. So we did see that. So that's, I appreciate your input on it, because it's a concern of all of ours, that all the adjacent properties that are downhill and uphill have some consideration here for what's being built.
All right, I appreciate that, George. But is this going to be an engineered driveway?
We'll ask the engineer of record how that comes together.
So after, this is Jason again, Mr. Chairman, after talking to Dale Moore and talking to Bill Eichner, who constructed the driveway was boxed out and processed gravel compacted in it. And from what I understand, the grade is not as deep as it looks. I mean, when you drove that driveway, did at any point you feel that driveway was steep? And I believe
You should know what the grade is.
you can weigh in on this, but you mentioned something like Steve Sedlowski didn't require it to be because the grade was not steep.
Well, I think part of the review here that we should have is you've got the wetland area that drains down through that little pipe that you talked about. You're going to have the 20-foot crossing.
Yeah.
But I think there's an interest in my mind of how are you intercepting water as it comes down on this paved road to control that flow, so it's not going out on, other properties, as well as not.
Well, and right now, the way the driveway is shaped, water that runs off of the driveway runs to the north side of the driveway. It flows off of it, and there's a couple of smaller cross culverts along the way that any water coming down the south side of the driveway gets picked up and brought over to the north side. So which is really, that's the bowl, the north side of the driveway, and down where the 24-inch culvert that goes under the driveway, that's more or less the bowl that catches all the stormwater coming off of the developed property.
Which is part of the wetland delineation, as you're talking about.
Yes,
the north side is
that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything coming off the road is going to go to that side, toward the wetland side.
Yes.
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman?
so Mr. Chairman, I guess to answer my question, so this is an unengineered road. It was just box graded and some process put in, but we basically improved the farm road, and that's what we're going to be paving.
Well,
There's buses that go up and down that road.
18-wheelers.
Go ahead, Dale.
We also have 18-wheelers that made it up and down that road. So we really don't have no problem with the road. We've had concrete trucks, many 400 yards of concrete we poured up there. Nobody sank. Everybody made it all the way up and made it all the way back. So please, the road will be graded accordingly so that the water still flows the same direction and it keeps good. It's been flowing since we built the driveway. And it's always going to the inside of the driveway toward my property, never to the neighbor's property. And it's dropped down in that pipe.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
That pipe is actually of great concern. Because as Mr. Dismukes and Mr. Picard just stated, the way that driveway is shaped, all of the runoff from that driveway runs onto the north side, right? Down into the wetlands, and it is handled by that single culvert. So that single culvert is pointed directly at a neighbor's property. And it was just stated that all of the stormwater heads down through those wetlands and is handled by those wetlands and comes to that culminating point. So I would also like to interject that we neighbors who have driveways of similar length and obviously in similar areas were required by the town to engage engineers and have extensive engineering performed in order to have proper water handling procedures and measures implemented, so that the water that came off of this very hydraulic heavy hillside, that water was managed in a very appropriate manner. And actually we were required to alleviate water, hydraulic issues. We were also required by the town at an expense to us to improve the drainage alongside of the road. So it seems unjust that this driveway is allowed to have changes made as they go along, like culverts placed. Were they ever approved by anyone? Or were they just placed because there's no drainage swales, there's no plunge pools, there's no catch basins, it just all goes into the wetlands and then down to this one point, and then through this culvert, shoots down onto the neighbor's property, down his driveway and onto Newfield Road, which causes the huge water problem that everyone is talking about. And I know this for a fact because I was given that information in a professional capacity by the previous owner of that house. And as I wrote in my letter, it's the historic water problem at that property is undisputed. Okay, it's undisputed. There has always been an issue at that property. However, when changes started to be made at this along this driveway directly relating to this driveway and in areas around the driveway, the water problem at that property just skyrocketed out of control. And now it is what we are faced with today. And it seems as though there are no measures to be implemented in the future to mitigate any of these water problems. We just keep saying all the water runs off the north side of the driveway. It's the way the driveway is shaped. And we just drain it into the wetlands and it goes down to this culvert and goes, well, we don't know where. Well, it goes down to the neighbor's property, which then directly goes into the branch of the Naugatuck River just on the other side of Newfield Road. So I think the fact that we're not giving that more professional attention is pretty short-sighted. And as I said, it feels fairly unjust based on what the town required us neighbors to do with our driveways in order to get approval for a 2-3 bedroom residence, not a commercial, not 16,000 square feet of office building with however many employees and volunteers and everything else. So I really feel like this driveway needs a lot more attention than it is being given. And, hey, I can show you the plans I got for my driveway. And let me tell you something, they cost a fortune, and it was a big deal to have that done and have the water from this hillside handled in an effective manner so as to not exacerbate or create any problems, and actually to mitigate some existing concerns. That was our responsibility. So I don't know why it's not the responsibility of ECAD to
Well,
do.
you're bringing this up, and that's what we're here to listen to and hear. So I've made note of what your concerns are, and this public hearing is going to continue so that we'll, the commission is going to digest this, and any more questions we have, we'll raise it with the applicant and the applicant's team.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Any other comments from anybody else tonight? Yes, sir. Go ahead. Mr. Reeve, is it?
Yes, Dan Reeve, 147 Newfield Road. This may be a trivial point, but it's just something that's been eating at me, Mr. Chairman. Look, in the minutes of the last meeting, Mr. Disputes stated, and also it was repeated by Mr. Bowe tonight, that the lines were already run in preparation for the new building. I believe they mean to say the lines indeed were not run, but the empty conduits were run under the parking lot awaiting the new building. That's what I would get, because being in the profession myself, I know of no plumber, electrician, etc., that would stub dead lines at the end of a dead conduit to be spliced further on to give another point of failure. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Jason. I mean, and Dale, correct me if I'm wrong. Granted, conduit may have been run. They dug a trench, they laid conduit. There's a well line run. That well line is ready to take water. I mean, the utilities, the infrastructure for the utilities are there.
Correct.
And all of the mechanicals that are associated with the existing building were all sized for both buildings. You can't, I mean, I don't know what your broader point is, but the fact that both buildings, from day one, I know Dale has expected that both buildings were going to be built. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Well, yeah, and the point's well taken. You've got paving and you've got a driveway. It would make sense that you can make the crossings before you finish the work.
Right.
In anticipation.
And I'm assured there's lines in the conduit to pull wire. And if
that's fine.
Vacuum them down there.
I don't think.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that you've got live lines down there, but it may be a misunderstanding of what was said and what in fact, was done. But I mean, typically, I know I'm in the construction business for my whole life, and typically we'd run when we're having a crossing of we're going to put in new paving and new parking lot and so forth. We'd want to get things installed, conduit, so that we make the crossing without having to dig up new asphalt and so forth. So that makes a lot of sense. So it might have been just a misunderstanding of how it was defined in the discussion or the minutes. But I personally, all I thought was there's conduit there that they're coming from the sources that have to come from the original installation. So I think that's pretty clear.
Mr. Chairman, I have just a question.
Yes.
If there is not a permanent CO for the existing building, why is another application being considered? If there is a punch list and one of them being a very sizable infrastructure malfunction, being the water retention pond, why is the town moving on to consider new construction, i.e. new application, if the first project is not complete? It should be complete and running as it should, and then we move on to something else. And I understand that Mr. Dismuke said the town told them that these things need to be satisfied in the new phase. Well,
this is my understanding, and I'll be honest with you, I've been here a long time, and we've had inconsistent inspections and verification of projects, process, and so forth. And I've gone on record, it's been in the newspapers that I've talked about it for 20 years. And so I'm not happy that this is where it is right now, except with this drainage structure, my understanding was it was not designed properly, and it was done by an engineer who stamped the drawings, and he should have taken responsibility for it not working. Now, Jason is a different individual that's on it. He's a professional engineer. I've seen a lot of his work. I believe he's a very capable and qualified individual to be handling this. He has come up with a resolution of this, and that was going to be incorporated in what the second phase of this application that went in 2016. That's my understanding. Why it got to a point where they're still operating under a temporary CO, I'm not happy to hear that that's what's going on. That's why I asked for what the checklist was and what wasn't addressed. Let me step back a couple of minutes here, just momentarily. When we have a property that's in one zone, a commercial zone, and it borders at a residential zone, we have a requirement of a minimum of 35-foot landscape buffer that's got to be put in, and it's got to be appropriately planted, berm, whatever, a combination of whatever works because of the topography and so forth. That is in our regulations, and that's what we've insisted upon. We did something with the marina down at the lake, and this is, and I've been on the commission before. I was a selectman for 6 years, and I'm back on the commission. We've got people that are on it tonight that have been here probably most of their lives. And we're concerned about this. This is why we have a special permit process for something that's permitted through a special permit application. And to me, the biggest part of this is buffering and handling stormwater that's coming from these projects. So that is our concern as well as yours. And we're going to do our darndest as commissioners to review this and examine what's coming forward. I certainly appreciate the beauty of your home location, the property. I thank you for the opportunity of letting us get up on the property, and Mr. Picard as well. And Mr. Pozo, we did come back, below or just above your property on this roadway. So hopefully, as a result of this, if in fact it's going to be approved, that it will be with conditions that will satisfy a lot of these concerns, and we're going to have a wonderful project as a result of it. And is everybody going to be happy? I don't know, but we're going to do our darndest with regards to this, because it's an important. First of all, we've got so many letters that have come in favor of this operation, and I don't think I've heard, even from people that are neighbors, I don't think there's anyone that questions the wonderful activities that are taking place and how much good service this does to their community locally and to outlying regions. So all of those positive things are wonderful to know, but the question is, how do we make it fit? Because it's already been interjected into the neighborhood in 2016. So that's our task. And I think that's why we're listening to everything that we can, getting all the paperwork, and the professionals that are hired by Mr. Picard, and we're evaluating it from our standpoint from the town. But I'll tell you what, I am very displeased with the lack of consistent verification of compliance with permits and site development, so forth. It's been very lax, and this is nothing new. I've said it for 20 years. I've talked to the town manager about it, and I've said it in front of the commission many times and in public, and it's been in the newspapers. So I've said my piece. It doesn't disqualify an application to come in because of something the town has not done appropriately. I'm sorry, but as far as the engineering and stormwater management, it's very critical. We don't have a lot of earth cover above the, the underground water conditions and rock and so forth. This is a difficult community to be building in everywhere. So with my getting that off my chest, I appreciate your time. But
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, this is Jason. If I just like to clarify something. As far as what the previous engineer designed, you know, whether it's functioning as he intended it, I'm not going to really weigh in. What I think when I approached the project, and I'm familiar with the Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual and the guidelines, and when you look at the, you know, again, the project scope that's there, in my professional opinion, it didn't meet the bar. And so that's why I proposed changing it to something that is more consistent with this type of development.
okay, I appreciate that. It made a lot of sense the way you described it, and your you know, your groundwater level and the evaluation that you did, and your evaluation of your capability of the soil and so forth. So that's what we look for people that are professional as you are. So there's concern about how this water is coming off the road. I think you know, should take another look at that if you could, and try to determine, is there any way to control the water that's, because obviously you're going to contribute more to the wetland area on the north side of this road. So think about that and see if there's things that can be handled there that we could hopefully dissipate some of the concern here from that water. All right. Anybody else from the public that before we move to continue this?
Calling again, 133 Wani Road. I don't mean to be simplistic here or primitive, but we're talking about getting rid of water. It's going to flow on this property. It's going to do damage here, damage there. This is a pasture out here. And I've experienced this before. We've experienced it in Maine. We have 25,000 acres in the state of Maine. So I think we know a little bit about water movement. I'm worried about bleed out of water resources to this field that immediately lies to the north of this cut that will be made to put this semi below grade building in. And I would like to see that taken care of so they don't lose the capability to use this if someone wished to put an orchard out there someday or put crops in there. I mean, it is a field that's been there for, I know, at least 75 years because I've got maps that show it. And speaking from the standpoint of a farmer, that's one of the thoughts that I have that I think should be addressed. I know it's difficult, but this is the difficult area to make this installation to begin with. So that is all I have to say on that issue, but do keep that in mind. Okay. Because you can bleed out that bank all the way down. I mean, you could generate a brook or a river going down through there. So a lot of that water is needed up here for the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen. All right, I think we've got enough to work with here that we're not closing the public hearing. We've got some reading to do. We just got some information as Pam forwarded to us later this afternoon. So let's put all that together. You've got it. Just could you review quickly, Pam, what you need so that this application for Zoning Board of Appeals can be filed?
Variance application and eight copies and one original, 8 copies of everything. And I would need that by tomorrow in order to be on the February agenda.
Okay.
Pam, real quick. I mean, we're seeking a variance for impervious surface, which what puts us over is the driveway.
Yeah.
And then widening the driveway. Do they need the whole full set of everything? 8 copies?
No, but we can talk tomorrow.
Okay.
Just one, I'm sure,
Okay.
with a
Thank you.
zoning table showing, yeah.
Yep. Gotcha.
Okay, that makes sense. Any commissioners have any further comments tonight? We have a motion to continue the public hearing. Let's carry it on our next agenda, and we'll carry it until we can get back together and we've got progress on anything else that's got to go on, but at least we keep the focus and it's on our agenda. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Move.
Okay, so Peter just moved the continued public hearing to the 22nd, I think is our next one, February.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, Art seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to continue the public hearing to the 22nd of February, raise your hand, please.
Aye.
Okay,
And that'll be held at 7 PM via Zoom.
yes. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody's input, and let's keep moving forward. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So let me see this agenda.
Well, old business, we've got the 2 first are continued, and
James Cloud, 100 New Hartford Road is here.
okay, you
Yep.
do have something on?
Yeah, he's here. I don't have anything, but
Oh,
I
okay.
imagine he'd like to address you.
All right. Okay, then we're under old business, number 5, D, PCC 21-01. Mr. Koshko?
Get it unmute.
Unmute. Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had an issue getting signed into this meeting. I wasn't able to sign in until 20 after 7. My engineer was online up until 5:07. He was looking for the invite for me, and I'm not able to get a hold of him now. So he was prepared to address the commission. I'm sorry, he's not. I can't get a hold of him. I can't get a hold of him now.
Well, we need completed application. Do we have that?
No, because the soil scientist is delayed because of the snow. So he can't do anything on his map until the soil scientist delineates the wetlands again, which I was told needed to be done. I just want to point out that everything that I'm doing and proposing to do is within the boundaries of the pavement already. I'm not encroaching anywhere further on any wetlands at all. And with the weather and with the snowstorms, it's just impossible for the engineers and the soil scientists to get anything done. So I would.
Go ahead, Pam.
The problem is he's operating a business there. The town doesn't know what's being operated there, and he's made building modifications. So regardless of what action this commission takes, I've advised him that there may be an abatement ordered by the building department. So, I've stressed to him the urgency at which his engineer needs to move. One second.
Yep.
So, this commission can't do anything until he gets wetlands approval. And now we have snow. And so there has not been a formal cease and desist order issued, which has accompanying fines in some cases. But I think that he should receive some type of guidance, as far as operating his business there with, no information provided to the town. There's been a fire there already.
Tam, there was a fire there. I burned some leftover Christmas trees because I had a gathering after an outside gathering with some friends and family. I discussed it with the fire marshal. He was fine with that. He was actually even apologetic that I wasn't able to complete it. I had a grill. I had an outdoor grill. We were cooking some food. I didn't realize this at the time. He says you can't have a fire like a grill outside on a commercial property. I had no idea, but he allowed me to keep the thing going because we were there at night cooking some food. And I was very apologetic, and he was very understanding. Now you say I'm operating the business. I haven't, as I explained to you, I haven't done anything in 2 weeks because of the weather. I do concrete, and concrete doesn't work in the cold weather. Now I'm not doing anything this week, and next week's looking to be pretty cold weather again, so I'm not doing anything there. As far as the building department, I was under the assumption that I had to go through your approvals and the wetlands approval before I contact the building department. If you would like me to contact the building department, I'll call them tomorrow morning. I'll call the building department immediately.
They're not going to be able to.
All right, Pam, go ahead.
You know, the building department isn't going to be able to issue a building permit until, you know, the land use approvals are in place, you know, until, you know, they know what he's doing and he's got approval to do it. You know, you can't allow building modifications to be done. And then, you know, planning and zoning turns around and says, no, we're not going to permit, or wetlands commission, you know, planning and zoning can't do anything until wetlands does it. You know, you can understand the dilemma, and, you know.
Well,
so as far as building modifications, yeah. And, you know, I like to say I didn't approach this in the right way. I've gone, I owned property on Highland Lake before. I did a big seawall. I did 150 yards of concrete seawall at Highland Lake with the inland wetlands, with all the proper approvals. I didn't do that this time. This year didn't really go as I had planned. My back was up against the wall a little bit. I was running out of time. Into winter, my truck has to be inside for the winter. I put a garage door in. And I've done nothing, no other building modification. I have no plans on doing any other building modifications.
Well, we've got to obviously tie up the loose ends here, and it makes it difficult for us when you know, we get out of step. Pam is so available and so helpful. It's too bad that you hadn't visited there prior to acquiring.
He did.
Yeah, I did. And I spoke with Pam, and she suggested that I get a purchase agreement that the owner would let me get all these approvals before I purchase the building. They weren't gonna go for that. They weren't gonna allow it.
No, but I was pretty clear that you can't operate without getting your approvals.
Well,
so I had suggested that you could have.
Yeah. When did this take place?
That was, June.
So there was
it was probably September or October. I bought the property in September, so it might have been the first part of September.
Okay. Well, there was. We can hash about what we should have done or could have done, but you know, we're not here to try to slow up progress. We're here to facilitate growth and do it in a manner that's predictable by the neighbors and people that look at our regulations and say they have expectations of us doing this, and we're willing to meet with special meetings and so forth. But we need to have some documentation that meets our requirements, and you know, so our hands are tied.
I wish the engineer. I wish the engineer was online to address. He was prepared to join the meeting, but like I said, I couldn't get signed in.
The meeting, the agendas carry the meeting ID and the password. So you need you need not have a unique. It's always on the agenda.
I tried that, and it went up to the January 25th meeting, and I tried to join it. It wouldn't let me join that. I tried the three or four previous meetings. I got an email from you ahead of time. I was searching my email.
We won't tie up the meeting, but just so you know, you can always, you know, the link is just convenient, but it's not necessary.
I know. I'm gonna revisit that tomorrow. I tried, and it wouldn't.
But in the meantime, you know, should he be operating his business from there, I guess, is, you know, or do we have his word that he won't be operating his business, or Does the commission want me to issue a cease and desist on your
Well,
behalf?
frankly, he's kind of stopped because of the weather. You just indicated that.
But if the weather eases up, should, you know,
No,
what
I
is
think
the
we need to
direction?
get this stuff cleared up. And we've got to meet, the next meeting is the 22nd. You know, this is, it's an important thing that we get the steps taken. You're not going to be able to get wetlands delineated in the middle of a, you know, snowpack. But do we have any maps? Do we have any maps existing that on the Kentucky Fried Chicken property that that show something that's there as far as the wetlands?
I have maps that show the wetlands. I have maps that show topos. I have all the old maps from the original. It was built, I believe, around 1997. And there was another map that I have from Dakar Associates that was the 2018.
Which is just the layout of the building. That the one from 2018 was, you know, for, you know, the medical marijuana dispensary where there were no proposed changes outside, or, you know, just the renovations were limited to inside the building.
Right. Just a suggestion here. Why don't we get what we have for maps on this property?
Well, wetlands wants the wetlands updated.
Okay, all right.
So,
well,
you know, and
we can't
you know,
move without the wetlands.
Right. So, you know, that's my point, is that, you know, it with the snow cover, you're not getting those wetlands delineated. What do we do in the meantime with them?
Could we address that at the wetlands? I believe there's a wetlands meeting next week.
No, I want zoning direction from this commission, because, you know, what we have here is, you know, wetlands, zoning, and then building. You know, there's you know, three possibilities for enforcement.
Are they already applied to wetlands without any maps? They couldn't have, right?
He did, because you know, enforcement, you're always looking to gain compliance. So let's get an application in, and now move it, you know, with
right,
getting what you need.
When's the wetlands meeting, Pam?
February 17th.
All right. Why don't we?
Well, he's not going to have wetlands delineated for then.
I understand, but there are maps that show the wetlands. There has been no further development on that property since the Kentucky Fried Chicken property was, because nobody's occupied it since they vacated it. So why don't we bring it to, have it go through wetlands, show what's going on. Mr. Costco said that there's no, he's not going to impact anything. He's not developing anything outside the paved area and so
No,
forth.
he has outside storage, George.
I understand, but it's on the pavement. So he could go to wetlands and define, subject to verification of the, updating the wetland delineation when it's available. And it'd be subject to that, but at least they could get an answer from them that if he did the conditional situation, that what he is doing on the property, and he controls any runoff from the hopper or from whatever, washing out the equipment and doing all that stuff, that he's got a procedure that's going to contain all that. If he can get that to them and they're satisfied with that, then you got an answer from wetlands, and then it can come to us on the 22nd and we can have a public hearing.
George?
Yes.
It's Art. Isn't there, with Kentucky Fried, didn't they have to have 1,000-gallon grease trap?
Yes.
Underneath?
Yes.
So his runoff could go into that.
Is that still existing?
Well, that's for the indoor drains, the grease trap for the indoor drains.
Right. But,
Right.
but Connecticut requires it to be outside the building. Is it?
Oh yeah, yes, it's alongside the septic tank. Yeah, there's 1,000-gallon grease trap. The inside from all the,
because
the cooking grease and all that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the washing of your trucks.
Can I make
one speak at a time here.
Yes. Can I just say, that was you just brought up washing of the truck, and so did you, Mr. Commissioner, about washing trucks. I want to be so specifically crystal clear. This mobile mixed concrete is nothing like ready mixed concrete. Ready mixed concrete, the materials are brought. If you need 8 yards of concrete, you order 8.5 or 9 just to make sure you have enough. Okay. If you need 2 yards of concrete from me, I bring out 3 and we only mix up 2. I wash out on the job site. There's no cleaning of the truck on Kentucky Fried Chicken whatsoever. None whatsoever. And as far as the storm drain maintenance, you mentioned that. I spoke with my engineer. He's very versed and has a lot of experience in storm drain management. And that was one of the things that the inland wetlands required, was a storm drain management plan or schedule.
Right.
Art,
Yes, George.
you had a further comment with regards to that?
Yeah. So you're gonna do any maintenance on your trucks that would be inside the building, correct?
You want to limit the
Correct,
conversation.
inside.
Hold on. You want to limit until you have an application, so that if it is a special permit, we don't know what it's going to fall under. And if it is a special permit application, you want it in the public hearing.
Yeah, good,
So-
good point.
Good point, Pam. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, no, see, we're all trying to expedite the process here, but
We don't have anything, so
we
it's
can get out
it's tough.
of kilter. But I think if something goes to wetlands, as we just described, and you show the operation to them and satisfy them so that they give some direction to us, we should have that answer for the meeting on the 22nd. And if we have something, yes, Pam.
And activity between now and the 22nd should not be happening.
That's correct. That's correct.
Peter, what?
George?
Yes. Peter?
No, I'm thinking, right now he's not conducting any business, but he has said September. So he's had plenty of time back then to do the engineering, to get wetlands and to come to the town. So there was a lot of time with no snow on the ground. I know we feel bad for business people and everything else, but should not be conducting any business on that till he gets all approvals from the town, period.
I didn't actually move anything there till late November. It was September for what it's worth.
Right, but if you bought the property you were looking at in September, there's been plenty of time to do engineering and find town approvals.
Okay, but the question is concerns any operation of business. We're not given any approvals at this point, so there should be no activity there from a business standpoint. Let's get these things expedited, and then we can put the parts and pieces together, and so you can start operating the way you need to.
Correct. Now, this isn't perhaps until the wetlands, if wetlands gives me some kind of a okay, then because here's what maybe we can reach a compromise as far as this. Let me just ask. Okay, so Pam, Pam, is this funny, Pam?
Yes.
I don't think it's funny. This is my career, my future. So I need sandstone and cement to deliver concrete. It was intimated to me the biggest concern would be the outdoor storage of the sand and stone. Okay, I have sand and stone outdoor now. It's frozen solid. It's covered with snow. I don't need to touch it. If by chance I get it, nothing's going to happen this week, probably not next week, but I had a customer that wanted some concrete for tomorrow, but the weather's going to throw it off, and it was too cold anyways. But if by chance I get like 1 or 2 requests for concrete, if I could just load the cement in my truck, I can get the sand and stone loaded elsewhere. Would that possibly be something that you might consider on a temporary basis until I could hopefully satisfy both commissions? And for what it's worth, at the last inland wetlands meeting, I did a brief narrative of what I was doing, and one of the members made a comment. It seemed like a reasonable use of the property. So I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch, but hopefully it seems like it's not, you know, I'm not doing a nuclear plant there. I'm not using hazardous materials or anything like that. Seems like it might be something that with my engineering plans, with everything else that you require, it seems like I might be able to have an operation there.
Well,
Would it be reasonable? Would it be reasonable if, and it might not happen, but again, and it's not, it's like you don't want to turn down a customer. You know, you turn down a customer, they go somewhere else. Maybe they go somewhere else for the next.
you know what this
forever.
is, though? It's a slippery slope for us in the land use board. And I'm a contractor. I understand what you're up against, but I'll tell you what, that's what we have regulations for. They're publicized. They're not specially tailored to any particular person or a circumstance. And I think that somebody's got to step on the gas to get the appropriate application made, get it to the appropriate inland wetlands, and come to us on the 22nd. But until we get that, that's 2 weeks from now. You know, our hands are tied. We didn't create the situation.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. I agree with you.
So let's move forward. As far as you may have to use somebody else's property that's appropriately permitted to do a similar kind of operation if you need to batch or put your dry materials in your truck. But I think there's so many people that are, you know, looking at this, frankly, we've got to be consistent. That's one of the things that I've emphasized my whole time in the land use board. And I look at that as an applicant. I applicant in a lot of different states and towns. And what I really believe in is consistency and not anybody treated differently and special because it's a good old boy network. And too much of this has gone on in this community in the past. And we want it to work. We want it to work properly and respect you as a businessman. And let's move forward. That's all I can tell you from my standpoint.
Okay, so if I need to drive the truck off to another place to get materials, I can park it back and I can bring it back and park it at Kentucky Fried Chicken. But I can't load it there. Is that, am I understanding?
You're not supposed to be operating out of there, you know, taking materials from there, putting it into your equipment and running your business from there.
Okay. But what about just moving the truck off and on the property?
Well, George, the last thing that was zoned for was a medical marijuana, so there shouldn't even be equipment on the property by our zoning regulations.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot you put yourself in, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yep.
Yeah.
We just got
throwing a hard rock in the plate.
We just had a discussion about enforcement with ECAD and problems we have there, and
Yeah,
we
no,
can't,
you're right.
gotta stick by our regulations, and that's it. So if there's activity, then we need to issue a cease and desist at some point.
All right, so I can snow plow the property. I can plow the snow off the property because I have to have my surveyor come to you know, do his thing, and the parking lot can't be covered with snow. I mean,
Yeah,
that's fine, correct?
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
So hopefully I'll have a lot more information to talk about at the next meeting.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time and consideration. So that's it for tonight.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. We don't have anything under new business. We've got minutes from January 25th, 2021. We have a motion to approve.
I so move.
And Peter, you
Second.
second. Any changes, corrections, and so forth? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And do we have any communications, Pam?
No.
Okay. Staff report? Got your hands full.
Yeah.
Pam's been working a lot in the background on the POCD. putting a lot of information together that's the boilerplate that is very time consuming and a lot of research. I
But
appreciate
we're
it.
getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And I know I talked to Jen Perga, so you're working with her. So we've got, we're making some progress, even though we're not seeing it. Pam's got her hand on it, that's for sure. Okay, anybody on the commission have any comments or suggestions? I know, Jerry, you were going to work on something you had with regards to your concern about too much conservation in our discussions for the POCD. And Will, you were going to work on something with regards to the small lots in a method that we could describe in the POCD as far as an effort for the community and to protect the watershed.
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. All right, any other business tonight?
Yeah, activity with hiring a person for enforcement?
Not yet.
Okay, no, just didn't know.
Can't come soon enough.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Has anybody had to use the medical facility on South Main? Well, that's a good sign. That's a good sign.
Oh, someone was very positive about their experience there, so.
Well, my wife is going through some physical therapy up there, which they moved from East Main Street in Torrington, and it's a beautiful facility, nice equipment, great people. So anyway, so it's nice to see that in town. Now you got to watch it coming back from the Stop and Shop when you're coming down there with 2 lanes of traffic, because now you're going to have left turns going into the health center. So you got to be prepared.
Well, the state approved it. Has nothing to do with us.
No. It's no. I'm just saying that you get used to driving in an area, and now you got something new, and it's developing some extra traffic. As I just said, be aware.
Oh yeah. I think, George, your pay raise that you got should go to Pam.
Yeah.
As chairman.
Right. Yeah. I've already signed my check over to her. Oh God. All right. Well, keep everybody healthy. I guess we've got snow in the market here for tomorrow morning. Just keep us posted, Pam, as you always do. I don't think I've got anything else on my notes. I don't. Okay. So a motion to adjourn.
So be it.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks, Pam, for your work on putting.
Good night.
Thank you.
Hey.